New developments in the case of a 24-year-old American YouTuber arrested after visiting an off-limits island in the Indian Ocean, hoping to establish contact with a reclusive tribe. Take a look here. That tribe, the Sentinelese tribe, seen in that video provided by Survival International. So that YouTuber, Mykhailo Viktorovych Polyakov, has been ordered to stay in custody with another court date and chance for release now set for April 29th, so later on this month. The Scottsdale, Arizona man was arrested March 31st, 2 days after he set foot on the restricted territory of North Sentinel Island, trying to meet the reclusive tribe. Local officials say he left a can of Diet Coke and a coconut as an offering for the tribe, then shot video of the island on his camera and collected sand samples before returning to his boat. A senior police officer explaining there was a violation of Indian laws and meeting the tribe could actually endanger their survival and his. The tribe last made headlines back in 2018 when they killed a 27-year-old American missionary who was trying to enter their territory to preach Christianity. The tribespeople there shot him with arrows as his boat approached that island. Polyakov could face 5 years in prison, we're told, and a fine as a result of all of this. Now, I do want to discuss a little bit more about the tribe itself, what we know and what we don't know. Sophie Grigg is the Asia Campaigns Director over at Survival International, joining us now to discuss. Sophie, thank you so much for taking the time to join us and provide a little more context about all of this here.
No, it's a pleasure. I'm happy to be here.
All right, so first off, I do want to ask you, can you kind of break down for me your thoughts overall when you hear that this whole situation has even happened?
Well, my first thoughts were of absolute terror for the Sentinelese people, because it's incredibly dangerous to have somebody go and try and make contact with them. They are incredibly vulnerable to disease because they have no immunity to outside diseases because they're uncontacted. And that means that they don't have any contact with anybody outside their community. And because of that, they have built up no immunity, and it's really common for uncontacted peoples to be really devastated by diseases with even the briefest of contact. The Great Andamanese tribe who live on the other Andaman Islands, they were decimated. 99% of the tribe was wiped out by disease when the British arrived.
Can you kind of tell me a little bit more? As we discuss this tribe, not a lot of people have heard about it, and you touched on this already, but can you describe for me a little bit more about the tribe itself, who they are, and again, what we know and don't know?
Yeah, and of course, what we don't know is much greater than what we do know. So we don't know how many there are. We think probably about 150 people, maybe a little bit more. We know that there are hunter-gatherer people, so they and we know that they rely a lot on and they fish in the waters around their territory. They have small boats that are very narrow, only wide enough to just put 1 foot in, which they use just in the areas around the island. They also will hunt wild boar and collect in the forest. We know that they do live in small lean-to houses where each one has a fire, probably for each family. But there's so much we don't know. We don't know what language they speak. We don't know how many there are. And we don't know how much devastation has been caused in the past by people going onto their territory. It's banned, as you said, it's illegal for anybody to go there. But we know there have been, the British went in the past and actually kidnapped a group of Sentinelese people. 2 of them died almost immediately, as often happens with uncontacted people, because they have no resistance to pathogens. And then they returned the children. And we don't know, that could have also, triggered an enormous epidemic amongst the people. So we don't know how much they've suffered in the past from this, but we do know that they're absolutely resistant to contact. So when people go and try and land on their territory, they usually warn them first with arrows and then they shoot them. And that's what happened with John Allen Chow. The missionary that you mentioned, he went once and they fired an arrow at him to warn him off, and he retreated, and then he went back. And so that was when they shot him with an arrow. And so they're very clearly defending their island. you know, and rightly so, because they are unlikely to survive if people land on their island like this guy tried to do.
Can you talk a little bit about the laws that exist? Because a lot of people, it sounds like, just know that this is a reclusive tribe, kind of the details that you mentioned there, and that the island is off limits. They don't realize that there's actually laws, rules that are in place that prevent people from actually going there.
Yeah, so this is part of, there's a restricted area permit in operation in this area. So it's illegal to go and land on the island. It's also illegal to go within 5 kilometers of the island itself. Unfortunately, this isn't being well monitored. So we know that obviously John Allen Chow got there. This guy managed to get to the island and back before he was spotted by fishermen and arrested. But it's absolutely vital. And we know that other poachers and fisher people do go around this area into this island. So it's really important that the Coast Guard and the Navy that are supposed to police this area do their job. But also, ironically, although it's obviously, you know, we really welcome the fact that this influencer has been arrested, and we hope that it sends a really strong message to other people who might be tempted to do something as dangerous and reckless. It's also ironic because actually in another part of the Andaman and Nicobar Islands, there is another tribe, the majority of whom are uncontacted. And actually the Indian government itself is trying to build a massive port there, bring in 650,000 settlers, planning for an airport to bring in about 1 million visitors and tourists every year. So although it's really good that this situation and the Sentinelese people are being protected and people are arrested for doing that, the Indian government needs to stop putting at risk other uncontacted peoples in the Andaman and Nicobar Islands.
What message, and this is my last question for you, what message do you have for people out there who are maybe thinking about this? They hear this story and get the wrong idea and say, well, maybe I should go out there. What do you say to those people? What message do you want to get across?
Absolutely. Do not go. Nobody should be going to North Sentinel Island. The people have made it absolutely clear. It is their right under international law to remain uncontacted, to protect their land and to keep people away. It's under Indian law. It's the prosecution is, you know, this guy is facing 8 years in prison and a fine for doing this. But not only that, it endangered his own life, but it endangered the lives of the entire Sentinelese people. And it's absolutely reckless and irresponsible to attempt to go and put these people at risk in that way. So I would call on everybody to heed all the laws and not attempt to make any contact with the Sentinelese or to go anywhere where there are uncontacted peoples.
Sophie Grigg, thank you so much for taking the time to join us and help discuss all of this further. Obviously, still a lot of questions, but we will see how the situation does play out. Anything else you want to add here before I let you go?
Well, just again, really reiterating, uncontacted Indigenous peoples are some of the most vulnerable peoples on the planet, and their land rights have to be recognised. And they're under threat, as we see from influencers, from missionaries, also from logging and mining and other threats to their territories. And it's really important that everybody is aware and and you can come to Survival's website and take action and to stand up for the rights of uncontacted peoples, right to be uncontacted and rights to their land and resources.
All right. Sophie Grigg, thank you again for taking the time to join us today. We appreciate it.
Thanks so much.